Good, so I can, we have an agenda. Is it best out? First order of business, call meeting to order. We do need to replace, because Deb Shiflett's not here, we're going to need an agenda alternate. So Jamie will put you in for Deb. And Debbie Bain doesn't seem to be here either, so I didn't hear from her. Did you, anybody? No. She doesn't, she didn't respond to her. She said she was coming. Sure. Kevin, let's hold up, but if it's about 5 more minutes and she doesn't come, we'll put you in.
Sounds good.
Okay. We have the town treasurer here. Our next order of business was going to be voting on a permanent secretary. And there was a proposal that Debbie Bain would be a great choice, and I hate doing that in her absence. It seems a little not fair. So, and I haven't spoken to her about whether she'd do it. So why don't we move, if it's okay with everybody, move to treasurer report, since the town treasurer is here. And that's something that we her about.
Sure, except I didn't prepare a report.
You know what, anything that you can do to help us will be a great report. I think that was your original one.
So Tammy has already transferred 99% of the funding that the Cemetery Association had over the town. It's already been put in a non-lapsing special fund that's only accessible through appropriation. We aren't going to use that as a fungible fund where we just put money in, take money out at will. Because the cemetery is not going to have a department as part of the regular budget. Each year during budget time, you're responsible for creating a budget for the cemetery. And then also making a recommendation as to how much of the restricted fund should be transferred to the general fund, if any, should cost fund.
So going back to that a little bit, our budget was approved this year for 92,000, something like that. And because of the transition period, no part of that $92,000 is money that would belong with the Cemetery Association. It's all taxpayer money. In the future, it would be more likely that we would look at what was in the special dedicated reserve fund and ask the selectmen to have an appropriation out of that to offset some budget expenses. But that was not done this year. So this year, where normally maybe 40,000 would come in and pay for the mowing, it's all going to come out of budget, but we hope to correct that. Barbara and I talked, it wouldn't be the intent to keep sucking away money in the reserve fund and not help with the expenses annually. So that's something we'll talk about.
Yeah, it's probably important to at least get a year to see what kind of earnings you're going to end up with for the year, what kind of revenue you're going to end up with for the year. And maybe utilize that and decide on a core amount that you want to keep as a reserve for.
Right, we wouldn't wipe it out, but we would look at what came in.
So how much money has come from the actual cemetery?
Said 99%.
Yeah,
You have a figure how much was turned over to the town?
I have the dollar amount, but I didn't prepare to bring it with me. I apologize.
So, I can say, no, it's 74,510. Sorry,
Did you say West Point?
174,510 when we talked in March.
That's what I gave you, okay. And none of that has been utilized at all. And then there was an additional funding that came in from Tierney that covered Reynolds' salary from 4/1 through 6/30, and also the expenditure for the Jonathan Matson.
And did those get paid?
Yes.
Those are paid.
Yeah, okay.
So 174,000 carried forward, in addition to 90,000 annual budget from the town.
Yeah, and our annual budget, right, so this
What are
is.
we gonna do with all that money?
This is hopefully some of that 174 will increase, but also be used to offset budgetary expenses a year from now, because the 92, none of it did. So we didn't give the town any money on the 174.
Right.
So we're looking better than we probably would have otherwise. The association would not have looked quite that good if they had paid.
Right. So the association accumulated that amount of money because we had dues, people, joined, or were members of the association, so we sent out a letter asking for donations of like $20, people would send in 100, you know, some send 20, but that's how that accumulated.
And the fees that were.
And the fees. And the fees.
And people can still make donations for the quick money to the cemetery fund. That's
Okay,
allowed.
oh, good to know. Okay, so that fund would pay, if somebody was so inclined, that would be the place they would send you a check dedicated to the cemetery
Yeah.
fund.
Yeah, or to a specific cemetery or for whatever purpose they felt.
I don't know how that was done, maybe you should talk to Tammy on it, how that was done in the past, if they did an actual letter.
We did a mail.
Yeah, and I don't know.
So if that's something that,
Yeah, I think it's something to think about, but being as a taxpayer, every taxpayer at this point has contributed. You gotta think about that.
And there are a number of people who are buried here that their relatives are no longer in the Kent area. And they like to, a lot of people did
That's
donate,
nice.
so.
Yeah, so we can think about, that's a good point. But, yeah. Okay, then, anything else?
She does figure out the appropriation, so 92,000, 28 of it is salary for staff. And 43, I think it was like the mowing was in the past.
Okay, and the mowing is staying the same this year, they agreed to the same price, and we will give you an approved invoice. I think they billed toward the end, Bernadette knows for sure, the end of the season.
Yeah, they have sent it to the list with Jimmy on.
That's fine.
That's good negotiations. Yeah, we negotiated that we asked them not to increase for this year, it's well, we got us. And then you mentioned you paid the first payroll, so from here on in, how should we handle, is payroll gonna be automatic? You just,
He was hired as on a salary position, so
you don't have to worry about that.
they paid every other week, like everybody else.
Okay, awesome, okay, so that's no process to that one. Jonathan.
Back here.
I've disappeared on it. Jonathan, you made one payment and he has worked on a second one, so we need to approve that bill and give that to you. So he did
Okay.
2 cemeteries.
Okay,
And I think I only sent you one, but you have an invoice for the second.
I have not invoiced
Because we're
for,
waiting for it to get up and running.
yeah, right.
So there will be another one and the process for that, I think, would be, everybody chime in here, the board would approve payment and then I would submit.
you can
to
do it a couple of different ways, that's one way to do it, one way would be to appoint a treasurer on your
Here.
commission, and that person, you could give them a certain authority to approve payments, regular operating payments up to blank. And anything above that would need full board. I mean, there's 4 or 5 different ways you could do it, whatever you're most comfortable. I think,
That's faster.
yeah, I think expecting the full board to vote on every expenditure is gonna become. Yeah.
Especially if the board's approved the
Yeah.
step, you know, if the
Yeah.
board said, yes, we want to hire him for this amount of money, then that last step is simply for knowing the work I've done and paid, right?
I think that would probably work the best if you appointed somebody on your board or commission. Are you a commissioner or board? I don't know what you are.
Committee.
Oh, you're a committee.
Where does that fall in the hierarchy? I want to We may be, to be, because statutorily it says you're free cemetery committee.
Ah, oh, there you go.
There you
So
go.
that might be a good idea. That way that person can just liaison with me, get information that, for the meetings from me that you've higher, then I don't need to be coming to all your meetings.
Right, right, okay, so what I was thinking, information that would be good was, one is, just a redo of what's in the permanent fund, which it shouldn't change for,
Well, the only thing I would get is a little bit of interest between the time I received it and the end of the fiscal year. I typically don't post interest until the end of the fiscal
so
year,
we
just
won't,
because
that'll
it's
just stay pretty
Yeah.
steady. Okay, and then the other thing is of our budget, that we're a town agency with budget, what got spent and where are we monthly? So I think that printout's probably the one thing we're gonna need.
Yep, and the money that I just got for the plot sales is going into the reserve fund, it's not.
Oh, so that would be
going
good to know then how much gets added every month in plot sales
Mhm.
and donations.
So my
if that
theory
changes.
kind of is at the end of the fiscal year, you can see what revenue came in. And hopefully at least that will be designated as an appropriation back to the town, maybe more,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly, then we would be able to see
Right.
as we get to budgets. Okay. Anything else in terms of Barbara's role and agency, if you will?
I was doing a quick, did you break, you were saying when we had a discussion that you had made our line items.
That's right.
Have you done that?
No,
So what I was, as we were talking, the first line item is salary for sets.
Mhm. Right.
And then the social security and the rest
Yeah,
of it.
well, basically the way
That's
each
all I
department
wanted.
is set up, it's set up in three pieces. The
Okay.
first piece is wages, benefits, and taxes. The second piece is administration of the office or department. And the third piece is professional development. So you may not actually have any professional development. I don't know if there's any certifications you have to keep or have or have.
You know, maybe the assistant portion, when we get to that phase, maybe that would be.
Yeah, that would maybe be in the wages, yeah.
So
Normally, if we train an assistant or something.
Yeah, and like I said, it should be like the Men in Black, it's training a replacement, not an assistant, I wouldn't want someone that's just gonna be going off to college and never see him again, because there's a lot to.
We could put the line item in, but maybe not fund it.
Well, the professional development is usually meetings and dues. Training would be those kinds of things would be under professional development. Administration is usually office supplies, computer costs.
We would have supplies.
Contracted services if you had to hire. Somebody
Well,
out.
lawns, contracted services.
Yeah, the mowing,
I
yeah.
have a question, is there like an association? Like, are there meetings that you guys hold to support each other and also keep you up to date on? No,
I, you know,
All your support is 6 feet under.
I know a lot of,
Sorry.
I know a lot of people in the business. And so, you know, a lot just comes from, you know, talking to, you know, other, you know, sextons,
Right.
caretakers, you know,
You
funeral
find out-
homes,
you Find out the Connecticut Association of Sextons.
Yeah, or why don't you start just, I don't know, way off, why don't you start a group though? Because I bet it would be helpful for all of you to, you know, to,
Sure it would
there's
be.
so much.
You don't have to, that's not your job.
Just my, okay. I'll be
So
quiet.
mowing, and if, for example, we were talking about Jonathan would be.
That'd be a
another
contracted services.
contractor.
But I'm thinking, for this year, the budget's already set, so I'm not gonna change anything
Not
for
breaking
this
it
year.
apart.
But for next year, when I start the budget document, it'll be like a full department.
Okay, but you can sort of put a little note, this was a contractor, this was the one we see, okay, all right, so we don't have to worry about it.
I do think it would be, you know, certain nice incentive for, you know, a person that is looking to apprentice. You know, if there was some sort of a financial for them.
Yeah, that could be in the admin contract, to talk about that. We'd have to approve that, yeah. That, I think, were the only notes I had, was sort of how we would break down our one.
And when would you suggest that we should start,
Looking at a budget,
yeah, to get our ducks in a row?
our budget season typically begins in January and goes through May. So I send out request to all the departments and associations and boards and commissions in the very end of December and ask for, yeah. Yeah. And I usually give you a template that you can fill in that shows you what you spent in last year and then the current year to date, and then little spots for you to fill in for what you're hopeful for next year.
Great.
That kind of thing.
And then we maybe wouldn't know in January exactly how much, if we were adding, taking out of reserve, but we could work on that.
Right, because the revenue piece is the last piece of the budget
perfect,
process.
Because I think that's gonna.
We get all the expenditures out of the way.
Expenditures. Okay, anything else for Barbara? We can let her questions?
Escape back to my cave.
Only thing is this grave locator being, that is,
Well, yeah, we don't need her to.
but is that, who, will we need her to actually pay for it?
We do have town accounts at various places, Home Depot, Amazon, obviously office supply stores. So I don't know where you would buy this,
But we are not subject to taxes.
that's right.
So we would fill it, we would have Barbara or the selectman fill out a form that explains that this is being purchased for a town agency. So we don't.
But if you can buy it at a location where we already have an account, we're already set up for tax exempt, you can just charge it, use your department as the PO number, so it would be cemetery.
So Amazon would work?
Yes. But you would have to get our login information, because you have to log into our account, or you would have to ask me to set you up as a user, and then I would send you an invite and you log in. Because you need to be connected to the town account to do it that way.
Or we could just send you the item
Or we could just order it.
Yeah, that'll probably be
faster.
faster.
Yeah. There's not a lot. Or the Home Depot.
We won't be often.
Yeah.
It's an unusual piece.
Not many people carry it.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't even know it existed until
I
a couple
think you
years
can
ago.
find it on Amazon, or you're just saying that.
Did find it on Amazon.
Oh, that's it.
Wow.
So we have the addresses on the,
So is this exactly what it's called?
Right.
Yeah. So.
Well, we can vote right now then.
Yeah, why don't you go vote and then I'll.
All right, so we talked about the grave locator from the very beginning. This is the one that Brent's identified. What it's gonna do, Brent, is make sure that you can find,
It'll help locate, there's several unmarked graves.
and I think with our tour, we realize there's often areas of grassy that we don't know what's in there.
I've been probing quite a bit.
But this will make the probing a lot quicker too, I think. In terms of time and money, that's gonna be worth.
So what does this actually show? Just metal or does it show any kind of?
Only magnetic, and because it's magnetic, it goes to a greater depth than a normal metal detector.
But it's not the ground penetrating radar that would show actual forms of
Right.
bodies or something like that. That's a whole nother sphere of money.
That would be kind of cool.
We rented one up in the hollow one time, and it looks like a push lawnmower, and they're really not all that expensive for what they do.
And Bess had a crew come in from somewhere across the country to do the Pete Cemetery.
Really?
Interesting. Because I bet.
They found more graves than we ever.
Well, that's what I was, the reason I said that, I mean, it was funny too, but what he's identified is perfect for us, and I think it's really a smart buy. But the other step, there's gotta be things out there that we just don't know are out there, right? I mean, we can't afford it, we can't do all of it at the same time, but I bet it would be fascinating to run over those.
Let's see what shows up in the mapping too and where there
Yeah.
are blank areas to focus.
Yeah.
Just anybody ready to make a motion on?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Gary's gonna approve.
I said.
Who was the second? Debbie. Debbie did a second, okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
I.
Aye. Okay, okay, all approved, it's unanimous.
Okay.
So we're all set on that.
So I'll send you all a report with the financial information documented. Can I just send it to you and then you'll sit?
I can circulate.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Is this your purchase?
Nope.
Okay.
Wish it was, it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
works in town hall on Wednesdays, so that worked out really well. Next was the rules, regulations. One package and you can. Choose it. There might be too many. So I think that was it, yeah. That's an extra for that, I'll say for that. So this is the set that we're gonna work off of. And what you were originally sent was the one that said chapter XXX 2111 cemetery committee. This is almost identical, except the cemetery committee part became the ordinance. And this is the rules and regulations. So if you look, if you have this one that we got originally, some of the comments. Bernadette, some people had comments and stuff. This is helpful, but the numbering's not helpful about that. But it is helpful because there's a lot of comments in there. Some of them from the town attorney, maybe, some of them that. Right. So but this structure that Bernadette's notes, that says number 4, this structure is what the organizational committee had come up with.
Okay.
And I think it's pretty comprehensive. There were a few things that I thought of along the way, but do you think it's best that we go through this today, bit by bit, or you take it home, write your notes, and we'll come back next time?
Definitely, there's a lot.
We have a big agenda. There's a lot, yeah, there's a lot.
I mean, there's just a few things that I'd like to mention that I'm quite sure aren't in here.
Okay.
And that is, and I discussed this with another sexton as well. Quite often someone will be, in a hurry to get someone in. So they haven't gone to the trouble of ordering the stone. And in the past, I think that's why we have unmarked graves, is because they buried someone, then the stone was never bought or paid for or whatever, so that's why it was unmarked. It's just a suggestion, going forward, that in that event, that we have some sort of a deposit that would cover the cost of a standard 1x2 flush mount stone. So that way, if there is going to be a burial and there is no stone, then they have to put this deposit down so that if within a year or two that they don't come up with a stone, they can, then this can go, in its place so that we have a stone.
How much time would you leave for a permanent marker? A year?
Yeah.
Because that was another discussion.
I mean, we have that policy in place in the hollow.
If we collected money, we held a deposit, we want to have and we can use it if you don't perform by. Because you don't want this deposit sitting out there either.
Well, the other thing is too, is that if the person was to say, off the top of my head, let's say it was a $350 deposit. Quite often, the cost of a foundation for a stone is somewhere within that range. So really, that money could go towards the foundation for a stone if they did buy it. And if they didn't buy it, then we can just put flush marker, which requires no foundation other than just compacted gravel.
So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Okay, Sister, thank you. Anything else you've encountered that might be your need?
You guys, the only who worked it in town. The only thing I was gonna mention is that, on the, under memorials, okay, on the second page or the third page, letter K, it's talking about, no materials, are added to a monument, like pictures and things like that. But I've seen on the internet, where people put QR codes on there, like a family member might put a QR code, so that people could find out more information about that person. But then again, we've got the Chronicle for the 2 large cemeteries, so that would take that away.
Yeah, they're gonna be sending us QR codes in the next couple of days to be put in the cemetery, and you can scan that and I'll talk about it.
Okay.
But for example, you're talking teddy bears.
Right, the teddy bears and then there's another section here with any type of balloons, pinwheels, bird feeders, you know, and then artificial decorations. Those are the last few items that, you know, everybody's taking the tour, so you've seen what's around and.
Well, it also states in there that to put garbage in a proper receptacle, and there is
Right,
no
there's no
receptacle.
receptacles.
So at
There's
some
little
point,
details in there.
yeah, so at some point, if a board were to go up and a receptacle next to it, you know, that way the rules, everything, you know, would be pretty plain.
All right.
Great.
I'm still taking Christmas stuff away from it.
So back to homework. We'll come with these on next. Thank you. We can go back to number 2 now. Bernadette had agreed to take on the secretary temporarily, and we were looking for somebody who would be the secretary, do minutes, and then liaison with Joyce on how to start the Zoom meeting.
Any discussion?
Gary?
I'd like to nominate Debbie Baker.
No, I'm a terrible secretary.
Well, you'd be great. Joyce thinks you'd be great with this, getting the Zoom and you figure it out one of these.
Oh, she did she?
And actually, when you think you're gonna be terrible at it, you're like the best at it. So take it from
Oh, you guys were incredible.
Just
We all go
real-
drinking last night.
Real simple minutes too.
Sure.
Really, the most important thing in minutes, you get the sense of the meeting and then what did they vote on?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Well,
I'll second Gary's motion.
Oh, God.
You okay with this?
Yeah. I would say I'm lousy at it. I am. I'm a nurse and I take shorthand, so it's good.
Yeah, and I'm a pharmacist, so you're going, filling the void.
Yeah, you figure it out. You will get.
Not starting today, right?
I'll do this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Would you get a hold of Joyce at some point?
Yes.
Talk to her.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Jonathan, we are at the part of the
Alrighty.
meeting on the mapping project.
Now, I'm hoping that this will just go up on our screens over there.
Everything has started.
Oh, beautiful, that was easy. Alright, so my company worked with a cemetery management service called Flanders Cemetery to digitize Flanders and the Congregational. I received Flanders from them yesterday, so as soon as probably Brett and I might want to look at it at some point, as soon as we're confident that it's ready to go, we can put this in public mode. And then with a link or a QR code, the public will be able to go onto the cemetery software. We use ground penetrating radar and drones to map it out.
What's the date of this image?
The date of this image will probably be November. So if we go ahead and zoom in, the plots will begin to be filled in. Green is available, yellow are purchased ROIs, and blue represent burials.
Yeah,
What are the yellow again?
ROIs, rates of internment. So plots that have been purchased, but no one is currently buried in them.
Oh, they're sold.
Okay.
So by hovering over them, we can see who owns them. In the public view, public people will not be able to see who owns an ROI. They'll only be able to see burials. So they'll just see plot purchase. They won't see names of individuals who have purchased plots. But they'll be able to go, say, here and see, say, Carter. And by clicking on it, you'll get its location. And with the QR codes that they're gonna send us, if we have like a QR code at the start and you scan it with your phone, you can type in any name in the graveyard and your phone will read out through GPS directions on where to find any grave. It'll go turn right, turn left, whatever.
That's amazing. Why can't the public see the yellow boxes?
Because for privacy reasons, people may not want people to know that they've bought a plot and it's not public information technically.
Good point.
Now, what I've set up with Chronicle is the most basic rollout of the software. There are a lot of features that we can enable, and we probably want to discuss at some point what we want to do with this software. For the sexton, it can make reports, you know, ROI reports, burial reports. It has a lot of really cool reporting features. And it makes it just easier to be able to type in and see a whole record of when did someone buy a plot, when was someone buried. Being able to have all that information in one place is great, but on a higher level, this can also be used to sell plots. If you didn't want to have to roll out a big paper map anymore, this software has a feature where you can just click on any available plot, buy it right then and there online. You get an email to you, and the sexton gets an email going, the plot was purchased.
That's
That's
pretty awesome.
handy.
Yeah, so that's one of the coolest features. There's another feature called memorials, where instead of doing mailings and asking for donations, family members can pay an annual fee and then customize what the plots look like on the map. So if you click on it, you can get their obituary, tombstone photo, memorial photo, and that's the way that you can raise money as well through the software. Something that I think Brett and I would want to work on is a veteran wall. You can put a little dog tag over any plot that has a veteran on it, or a member of the Kent Fire Department, you name it. We can have little icons, and if people go onto the app on their phone, they can click so many veteran burials, so many fireman burials. They're also linked up with the Connecticut Freedom Trail. So if we have any freedom burials, they can click a button and our cemetery will be added to the Connecticut Freedom Trail map.
Does somebody see the gravestone when they're looking at somebody, a burial?
So at this moment, in the most basic rollout, no, but it's something we can do. We can either just add tombstone, you see where it has a little like gray logo. We can either add tombstone photos onto every single plot by default, or we can sell that as a revenue stream. So it's whatever the committee wants to do. We can either sell it along with letting them write a memorial, or we can just as a default attach obituary, attach tombstone.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool features that this software.
How about if someone's in a casket or cremates, or is that the information too,
Yeah,
or would be that?
yeah, when you input all this information, you can input everything, cremation, burial, mausoleum, date of birth, date of death, were they a volunteer, were they a veteran? There's about 25 fields that you can fill in about a person.
Do we know of a plot that has cremations in, so you can see multiple, because it's like you see the person, there's their name, when they were born, they died, and they're.
Yeah, at the bottom, you see where it says Agnes and burial. I'm not sure off the top of my head which of these were a cremation, but let me see if I can go to reports.
Which is helpful for Brent, because then if he's gonna.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at Bailey right now. Is there something in there that tells me that she's in row 5?
Yeah, so if we find her again, you click on it, it says 526.
Oh. So she's row 526.
Yeah.
Got it. Is that right now?
Yeah.
That's Merle. Agnes is right next.
So Jonathan worked off the maps too. So that's how
Yeah, we worked off the maps for data, and then we did ground penetrating radar and drones for the photography.
Really?
Yeah,
Well, Zatlin
New separate,
is in row 8, okay? And I don't know if you can really see it from this image
You have
here,
that?
you know, but they have row 9 as being of, you know, very parallel. When in fact, this stone here intersects, it comes in at an angle like this. And they actually meet, 8 and 9 meet right at Zatlin. And that was a big problem for me. That's why I needed to probe so much, because I didn't have the metal detector. But at this point, now I've formed two what I call God lines. I've taken row number 5, which was one of the straighter rows, and I put in a permanent pin here and here, so that I can stretch a 300-foot tape out there, and that's my straight line. I did another God line right with Zatlin too. So basically, row 9 just sort of fades in. It's no longer going to exist. And because this is also a turning point, so you have the graves here are facing this way and the graves here are facing that way. So it does cause an unused alleyway. But that's something that just is the nature of a lot of cemeteries
How
anyway.
did you say 9 merged?
Right in Zatlin.
So the real.
Because you can actually see this stone right here, this
Yeah.
line is actually like this.
Can we because that's a lot of
that's what I
graves
was
that
gonna
aren't.
ask.
Yeah, Chronicle, they gave us delivery yesterday, we have 30 days to have them do whatever we want to this. So any micro adjustments, they even said if there are micro adjustments you wanna make to the actual plot locations, they will do that.
Well, you and I, definitely should get together for that.
Because on the big original map, I know that years ago, they ran amok. Remember, Jane? The lines.
Yeah, because they definitely may have taken some liberty to make it look pretty, but if we want it to be exactly perfect, they will make any adjustment we want.
Can we sell, but
Yeah.
can we sell the rest of 9?
like circular thing?
Yeah.
All those greens that are
So
beyond,
it's
Jonathan, what's the
separate,
last yellow
down
on
the side.
9?
Let's see.
I do, yeah, or one more. That, okay. So Henry Mellon, can we sell plots beyond Henry Mellon? When you
Yeah.
say 9 disappeared, can we get 9 back and track?
Well, I mean,
Sure.
yeah, there's a lot of space. And really, it's just gonna be a matter of,
2 graves.
whether we call it row 8 and then parallel up the new row 9, I mean.
I think,
it can
yeah, I think we have to do that.
be-
And maybe we lose a couple, as Bernadette said, maybe we lose a couple in 9.
I don't
because
know
of
why
this.
the angle was started.
Yeah, I don't know what happened either.
It might have been to avoid the tree, maybe there was another tree there. I don't
Maybe there was.
Yeah, and you know, when I'm looking at this is kind of angled too. I was thinking initially.
don't line up that well,
that
yeah.
was the
You've
one.
got 4
But maybe-
before, and then you have 5.
Well, and that's
Maybe What
why,
we should do is meet with, with, Bill and Tamara, you and,
Just
Jonathan.
get it all.
just to, and then that needs to be done in the next couple of weeks if we only have 30 days.
Yeah, they'll do any adjustments we want for 30 days at no cost.
the only real one is that where that angle
Right,
starts,
8,
but
9, right by that.
yeah, 8 and 9.
When we went to the cemetery and saw, right, the problem.
And Henry Mellon's probably square.
Right, well, and you had pointed out too, that Bailey line was with Andy Osif, that row 5, that was the best looking line, and that's why I put the dot line there.
Oh, you guys traveling? I made Dan look at every cemetery. I got a picture of Yosemite Cemetery all over the place. But yeah, I think we can get it back and then get 9 back on track,
Yeah.
even if we
It
sacrifice.
won't be Arlington, but it'll close.
Well, it'll be Arlington around something unusual.
Yeah.
I mean,
So I did confirm, because we had the question when we did, well, it's here, the tree area. Ann and Bob Davis only purchased their plots. What appears to be from the minutes and the notations in town hall was that it was determined that there should be a dedicated quiet area. So that center with the tree is for all, it's owned by the town. It's not their graves.
Yeah, it would disturb.
They didn't give
groups.
any money they didn't give money to, it's not theirs. So we can think of that as being a quiet area for people to contemplate or sit, and we can, Debbie had asked me about this, we can talk about seating there.
Memorial Garden.
Yeah.
Memorial Walk.
But
Memorial bench.
that is definitely there was a determination to have a treed quiet area. So I did get that straightened out. It was, they did not, and they didn't give any money to it either. Nobody has any records and
that's good to
donating
know.
to, so it's not dedicated to them. Okay, and I think Davis is this side of the two plots. Maybe row eight, no, the other side of the tree, or low side of the tree,
Low right, over there,
somewhere in there.
further over to the right. To the right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is Casey.
Yeah, they're
Oh,
around
you know
the tree
what?
somewhere, but
The
that's
very
okay.
next thing
Davis
is
is
just type it in.
like these blue ones over in there.
Yeah, it's not Charlie, it's that, it's the Bob Davis, those ones. Where are they, 7, 8?
Yeah, that's not the next thing, so we can just click it and zoom in, or we can type it and zoom in.
So, and they'll have all of the date of birth and anything else that would be archived as far as, you know, married to, second wife, all that other stuff.
We can put all that information in. Well, I worked off of what was on the data that was given to me, which is date of birth, date of death.
Right. Well, I tell you, when we get to the next thing on Good Hill,
Okay.
I gotta tell you though, I mean, Marge Smith. The amount of information that she was able to pull from the Hayes report and a few other things is just amazing. And if that could be integrated into this, it would really be helpful, because a lot of times it's like, okay, well, the family says that their recollection is the plot is here, and then that's when you gotta go into the vault to see, is that, okay, was this really George's son and all that other stuff?
I brought this out of the vault, we have to take it back and forth. This is a sample of the kind of data, so you guys can take a look.
Yeah, congregational, we have a lot of data.
Quite
for.
fascinating.
That's totally.
Just.
So when we, when the Friends Cemetery Association hired, Jonathan, we knew we had all this information. We were thinking that perhaps we could get volunteers to say, take some of this information and then put it into the Chronicle, but having it as a, what we could do is, say to survivors, you know, do you want us to put this information in for, you know, a fee or for a donation? So that could be it too. I don't know. But we knew that that would be too big of a fight in order to, you know, do it all at once. And that would be.
This is,
At least for a congregational, there will be a lot of that information, because the black book I got, that's gonna have obituary information. Congregational is gonna have a lot more information, because for Flanders, I was just given the map and the ROIs.
Well, and in talking to other, you know, people from other cemeteries too, so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel on, you know, a lot of this stuff to just find out what has been working. But it seems like we're really on the right track.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a couple of cemeteries, the one that's north in Cornwall, North Cornwall Cemetery, uses Chronicle. And then also there's a historical DRA type of a cemetery in Hartford that has used it and has put in a lot of information.
very nice.
And you can see all the gravestones, and then pictures of the, you know, there's all kinds of information.
So they put,
So,
yeah, I think we
the,
can talk about that, yeah.
picture, which is
Whether
actually.
to do it automatically or whether to charge.
Yeah. Anything else for, congregational, you said just, you got a preliminary, or where are you at?
So I'm confident I can deliver congregational by the end of July. From there, Chronicles will be able to deliver the map by the end of August.
Fantastic, great.
So I'm looking forward to going over, you know, this with you more, and then, you know, how to access it.
Yeah, I think you and I will have to talk about what, like the reports and how to enter events. So burial, someone buying all that stuff, and of course getting access. They're gonna be the real daily user.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It is interesting, sometimes you can go to, I just visited my aunt and uncle up in Andover. And you can click at the cemetery and type in their name and then pop up their grave with all, it's.
Was probably Chronicle.
Huh?
It was probably Chronicle.
It might have been,
Yeah, because we're gonna get those QR codes any day from them now.
yeah.
Where all you'll have to do is scan, type in a name, You'll see it pop up and it'll give you directions through your phone speaker.
That was amazing.
Jonathan, thank you so much.
You bet.
So interesting.
Yeah.
So along these lines too, what I wind up doing is everyone gets a folder. And what I do is I just divide it into three. So the cemetery is up in the header and everything to do with that person's plot, whether it's, you know, a family plot related, wherever it is, location, anything that I know about that plot, I can find out about it. And then pretty much the middle, I use all of the point of contact. And also that'll include the funeral home if they're being used, the family, you know, sometimes there's several different numbers. And then here, I just pretty much put in all of the associated fees that are with that. So I have them send me checks directly.
Payable to town.
So they're payable to the town of Kent for the fees that are associated with the town of Kent. For example, I also have them send me the fee to pay Will Kennedy, who's going to be pouring the concrete foundation.
Okay, so we're
Or
not running that through the books.
you know, and that's up to you, but I would prefer not. Because this way, when I receive a check, I can check it off. I don't have to call Barb or somebody to say, well, look, can I dig it now? Did that check come in? This way, and they write out the check to Will Kennedy. He goes, I mark it, he digs it, he gets paid.
Are you keeping
There's-
an account, of all that? Yeah.
So,
So the town of
sometimes
Kent
too,
is
the-
plot.
pardon me?
The buying the plot is town of Kent.
Right, so
What else?
the town of Kent is collecting the plot, the sexton fee, the monument fee if it applies. And the foundation inspection fee.
Who has to inspect it?
Me.
What's the monument fee?
Well, the thing is,
See what we're
you know,
talking
sometimes
about
it
here?
really takes a lot of research to be able to find, you know, when I get the call, and I can get into that too. I mean, this is, you know, George Watson, the old Watson's Supply here. You know, they had a death in the family and they wanted St. Andrews. So it's like, okay, so I was in St. Andrews. Well, there's a big Watson here. And then there's another big Watson way over here. I had to find George and Louise. Then I had to probe it. I had to be sure that there was enough space for them and everything. So that's what goes into that monument location fee.
So it's a location.
It's a location fee, something like that.
Sometimes, you know, and if it's obvious, I have to walk right up to it. There's no point in charging it.
And then the ones that are payable to vendors are,
The opening and closing,
okay.
which in the case that I had, you know, I had to pay Bill Cowell for the full burial, you know, and then for the cremations, I've mostly been using this guy, Will Kennedy. He does a lot. And he's been very reliable.
And he pours the base.
Yes, he pours the concrete too. So the concrete is based on the surface square inches of concrete. They go down 3 feet. And you know, it's pretty, most of the time it's straightforward. And then, you know, but I go out there, I measure it, I mark it, put stakes in, so that's the permanent resting place there.
Right. So we'll leave it like that for now. It's working for you. If anybody have a problem with that, Barbara said, just get the ones town a check, just drop them off with her and she'll deposit them into that big, the $174,000 account. And let us know how it collects.
I dropped off $6,400 the other day.
Wow.
And then I also gave the sexton report with the cremation certificate to Darlene. So she got a mess of those the other day.
You have a deed? Yeah.
No, and that's something we have to discuss.
That's right.
You know, the 2 samples that I submitted back 1-2 meetings ago. One, I mean, you just have to adopt one and then we have to choose as to when to give it to them, because basically that's their receipt.
Yeah, I mean, to me, you would give them the receipt when they hand over the money. Give them the deed then.
Yeah.
Just make sure we have copies.
So on our May 1st meeting, these minutes, we talked about certificate of ownership. And another paragraph, the deed format. These two separate documents?
No.
Same.
You know,
Same.
I think that the only difference was the way that Tammy and Bill had it worded at the association. And that's,
So we're talking one doc.
yeah.
Most separate that I know of they will be. But it's not ownership of.
Good for ours.
Yeah, I have one mine at home, I kinda know where it is.
Have we agreed on
We didn't get agree on language or what it was. Trying to get us two samples.
Are we not gonna use what Tammy and Bill used, the same one?
Well, the only reason that you wouldn't is because that said association. It's really just the word.
Got it, yeah, got it. That's fine. That's the only thing.
Change.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's just gonna have the, you know, the row and the block number on it.
Yeah.
Some of them say, because I had a client who had the Cornwall one, some of them say that if it's sold, the town has to be notified. Because people can sell these things, so,
Yeah,
and really want to be careful.
yeah, that can be.
secondary market?
People give them away too sometimes, you know.
It's not gonna make you a rich man, don't go buy them all out.
In the hollow, we've had to, you know, had to buy some back,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and you buy them back, that's okay too. That's almost better because then you know where they are. So we'll have to add some language. So maybe I can work on that and get you a sample. Right, get that set.
Right, and I know there was discussions with that at the association, right, Jane? About,
A team?
no, about reselling, that you're not
Oh,
allowed
yeah.
to make money
Right.
reselling.
No, they can't, right.
There's no, yeah,
You
there's
can't.
no profit.
Can't scalp a grade.
So maybe you can only, maybe you make it that you can only sell back to the town and then the town resells. That's, there's a. Yeah. We had that discussion.
Well, the only, this actually just came up last week. George Woodard is down in Florida and, he just bought 2 plots, in Road 6 in Flanders. He, and his wife, Mary Sue.
Yeah.
They were given 2 plots in St. Andrews. And I did investigate it and it appears that there are 2 vacancies there in St. Andrews. But they just don't want to be there. They don't want to take them because it's under these big trees and everything. So he had asked me, I says, well, I'll buy these in Flanders. Can I transfer ownership of those in congregational, excuse me, to his sons? So at some point, we're gonna have some.
Yeah, and then why wouldn't you let somebody transfer the pin?
A family member. And could just theoretically, could you, if you bought 2 grades in St. Andrews and you've changed your mind, now want to be in Flanders, can you swap grades?
If you didn't want to sell them to.
If you didn't want to sell them or give them or anything, if you just changed your mind for, I mean, I can't even, don't know why this
I
popped into my
suppose,
head, but.
yeah, I would
Could you
suppose,
just?
you know, the fee is gonna be the same.
Yeah,
It's a paper trail.
it's just a
Yeah.
paper trail, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Just want to make it as, I mean, logical, but as easy as possible. You don't want to make it difficult.
Well,
As long as it
Let's
doesn't
make it difficult.
bias up at the knots, you know.
Maybe we put that in the rules and regulations too, but resale. Okay, yeah, family members, blah, blah, yeah.
And in Chronicle, when you log into the Sexton person, you can click on any plot and hit events, and it'll give you a full timeline of transfers, purchase history, everything.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Brent, I think we're on your report. You started out with the money side, great. You wanna go to the Goodhill? That's,
yeah, why don't we go right to that? I don't know how many people are aware of the incident.
Just know that it happened, but I don't know why.
The incident was on June 10th.
oh, that's the day I had my surgery.
So June 10th, a drunk driver going northbound on Route 7, went off of the lane and hit the fence. There were no skid marks. So he hit it. And those posts are, 8 by 8, granite posts. and the rails are 1.25" solid steel. This thing, he really hit it at a high rate of speed. It was a 2024 Ford Explorer. The fence stopped him, fortunately, from going in and hitting any stones. However, the top of one stone that weighs between 60 and 80 pounds flew 50 feet. I measured it, and it hit a gravestone and just demolished it.
Wow.
So the top of one of the granite pillars where the pipe broke off like above the pipe bowl or something.
So I've got photographs of it. I took a lot of measurements, spent a lot of time picking up a lot of plastic and glass.
Was he injured?
Pardon me?
Was he injured?
No, he was arrested.
You have a police report?
Yes, sir.
Insurance information?
Yeah, and I've got all of that
Insurance, yeah.
in here, and
So it's
there's,
gonna be under the town insurance.
Okay.
But it's
Was it-
subrogated to his policy.
Okay.
yeah,
So we're gonna make a claim throughout, but Brent's gonna work, as I just correct me if I'm wrong, we're gonna make a claim to the town's policy holder.
I did that.
And then Kerma, with the police report information, will get a hold of his insurance company and hopefully that will pay.
Right. I've already heard from his attorney. His attorney is with Conti's firm. Rob Salerno. I did speak with him about it. The driver's name is Tyler Forvey, and he lives in Canton.
What was the last name?
Forvey, Forve. So after talking to the attorney, his attorney, and also the insurance company, so the gravestone is not covered under state statute. Because, so really what they're looking for is that, the family would have to submit a claim to the insurance company. Now, I spoke to a couple of other sextons, and they think that there is some sort of wiggle room within most towns as to where the town had the responsibility for, taking care of these things, and therefore it should be part of that claim. That's an argument for you. It makes sense to me. However, we pieced together and tried to decipher what it was, or who it was, and then looked at the maps. And then I had mentioned it to the Historical Society, and she had done some research, and we found that it was Ruth St. John. She was the wife of Captain Jesse St. John. She was a Scottish commodore, early Presbyterians who rebelled against the Scottish kings in the 1600s. She may have lived right across the road. She died March 1st, 1858. The stone was the type that had a lot of the limestone, so it was really faded just to be able to. So I don't know how you're gonna be able to pursue to be able to have the stone done. I have talked to Gary and Steve from the Granite Company. So they're gonna give estimates to repair it, which is basically trying to just glue all these pieces together. And they're going to give an estimate for replacement, which based on the amount of information that we have, we could put a suitable stone next to her, near her husband. As to whether or not you're able to get the insurance somehow to pay for it, or whether we just get the estimate and pay it ourselves, that's up to you. The other thought that I had too was that this guy is in trouble, the drunk driver. If we were to try to insert a little guilt there and suggest to his attorney that if he does pay for the stone, that might give him a little leverage when it comes to his sentence. So I think there's a couple of different ways that we can go about trying to collect.
So the legal position seems to be individuals bought the stone, they own it.
Yeah.
And then the alternative to that is they bought it And after that, it became our problem. To keep it,
Right,
because
but,
we don't
right, but according,
necessarily go after families when a stone breaks in half, although we don't have any duty to fix a stone that breaks in half. Right?
it's not really,
Well, why don't we start with getting the estimates and submitting them with the claim on the theory that we had control and see how it goes. See how it goes, because we don't. There's no sense jumping in right now and offering to pay, but maybe.
I agree, but
Let's try it.
It just seems sort of like the right thing to do somewhere down the road.
And it really does seem to me that that it's reasonable on the part of the subrogation from his claim
Yes.
that he hit this thing.
Yeah.
He hit it so hard that he caused a chunk to fly and destroy her grave. It's collateral damage.
It's not like he didn't hit it with his car,
But
the collision caused
at
that.
that point, no matter who owns the stone, I think what Joyce said to me was that the insurance company is saying the family has to make the claim, not the town. But of course, we're not gonna find the St. John's family
right.
at all, so we've gotta figure out, maybe that's the one hurdle, not that he's.
Marge is actually looking into to try to find a family member too.
Let's try it.
Just really quick, David's relatives are buried in Good Hill Cemetery. They were here, they were one of the founding fathers of Connecticut, David Bain.
Wow.
He had no idea. He came
Were they
here.
St. John's?
No, they were Raymond's.
Oh,
But he had no idea until Karen did the genealogy, so he ended up in a town where his forefathers off the Mayflower settled in Kent in the 1700s. My point being.
They may be sitting right next door. And then if they can make the claim, if you can find a family member to make the claim, I think that makes it all go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
At this point, the two documents that I owe to the insurance company and to Attorney Salerno is, the insurance company wants a copy of the accident report as well as the estimate for repair. Okay, the Attorney Salerno, he just wants the estimate for repair. I didn't think it was appropriate, and seeing how we were so close to having this meeting, I didn't want to do that until, we talked about it. So herein lies, Eagle Fence and Guardrail. They're the ones that replaced a post before. Now, as it turns out, the last time the car was traveling southbound and it took out one post. Bill and Tammy were able to find an old post that was not installed, that was just laying on the ground in the back of the cemetery, so that way the patina and everything could match. So then the insurance company paid for a new stone, and they used the new stone in the back, and they put this old stone in the front. I just don't think, because of the extent of the damage this time, there were 3 full pillars. And then there were the gate post and another one were affected as to where they were going to have to go, along with all of the railing. The quote from Eagle Fence here is $13,972. However, they are calling for 1.25 inch square tubing galvanized, which this is solid stock. And it's gonna be my suggestion anyway, to have the Cornwall Granite Company also give an estimate. For a couple of reasons. One is that I know that I can work with them. And, this company's gonna come in from wherever they are and they're gonna say, look, this is what we're gonna do. This is the day we're gonna do it. And, and that's gonna be it. This also might be an opportunity. We talked about possibly putting in a walk-through entrance off of the Acres Road, St. John's Acres Road. And this, if we worked with Cornwall, I believe that we'd be able to do it at a more meticulous, slower pace, probably for the same, if not less money and be able to, because right now, like we buried, Bob Bauer. And, you know, elderly people either have to park there and walk all the way around, or you take your life in your hands if you park out in front and walk through the gate. This damage was right by that front gate, right on Route 7. I understand that the people that cut the grass, they park on St. John's, they have to mow the front anyway, and that's fine. You know, but there's a substantial opening in the cemetery right there that would be perfect.
On St. John's.
Yeah, to, you know, just to have a 6-foot wide gate, something that a mower could fit through. I mean, I'm not talking about any cars to drive in there. But for people to walk in and wide enough for a lawnmower, I mean, if you would allow me to work it out, and put that into.
Well, let's talk about, should we get 2 quotes? I think so.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Then in terms of getting the second quote from the Cornwall folks up there, should you separate it so it matches?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to throw the insurance company out and now we're
Different
moving.
quotes for different businesses.
Yeah, and then how much would be extra or how much would it be different for us to know? So get 2 quotes, maybe one for the repair by itself.
Yeah.
And then one for
The new gate.
at the doing the repair, but changing the configuration. Because we can collect the insurance money and then still change the configuration. You don't have to.
And I was thinking, because if we're talking about patina, it's one, maintain the look. You could ask the Cornwall people if they could use the fencing that's on the side road in the front. You know, even change them out, then you'd have consistent patina in the front.
Well, and that's why,
You know, so
Yeah.
you'd be able to perhaps
Or matches.
I don't know what, you know,
that might be able
if they
to.
cut a new one to match this type of post, if they cut that up in New Hampshire, I don't know what it's gonna look like next to.
It might weather in a short
You know,
period of time, it's hard to
You know,
say.
there's different sprays and
I
agents.
think they should continue.
Uh,
I mean, there's.
I think the piping's gonna be harder.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, so if we have to make a compromise, because the price of steel is up and down quite a bit, if we have to make a compromise on that, I mean.
Is that when we move them around to get a uniform look?
The ones that were hit are just like a pretzel. I mean, it's just.
Yeah, but thank God those were the ones that he hit. If it had been
Yeah.
something cheaper and hollow, we would have gone right through.
There were 2 other stones that were just barely nicked, and you can hardly tell. And I did take a measurement. So the way that these rails, these square pipe stocks are put in, they're leaded in. And so this is a chunk of lead that is probably a couple of pounds. I found it 100 feet away.
It's a missile.
Yeah, 100 feet away. So this guy must have been really
He must have been really.
young guy, yeah.
Logan Steel in Sheffield.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Especially if we end up working with Cornwall, maybe we can help them find a vendor.
You know, they're pretty good. They do a lot of, they do a lot of work. So the way that it stands then is to, what would you like me to send to, I mean, no, the only reason that another reason I didn't send it was because our power was out at the time, and I thought, oh, I might as well put it off. So I can send the insurance company the accident report. They have not. Yeah, but Attorney Salerno has asked for the estimate.
So do you want to tell everyone that we're getting a second estimate? Or
Probably. Yeah.
And then which one do you send them?
talk to the Cornwall folks and see if that's in the ballpark?
It takes time to get those numbers together, and this accident really just happened.
Yeah.
You know, it can wait, people, you know, we got a holiday or.
Yeah. All right, I can just let them know that we're getting a second opinion.
Yeah. You want a second estimate?
To have it look more like the original, that's a, you know,
Good way to put it.
yeah.
To see if they can do it. see if they can do it.
Is there a,
Replace like.
and I didn't ask the insurance guy, actually, I have his name on another piece of paper, so. Is there a deadline? I mean, is there usually like 30 days or 60 days that they need?
What day, when did you say this happened, the tenth, Jim?
So the claim has been made.
Yes, I submitted the claim to the insurance company.
That's important. You
Yeah.
can't keep it secret.
You know, and then I sent,
I think he had 24 hours.
this is the copy of the loss notice, and really, this was only. I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, I think we've got time to get another estimate.
Yeah.
That's a good report, Brent.
Just when I thought, okay, you know what, I'm really caught up with all of these. And then I get a call from Vicky saying, yeah, well, you better get up here. I'm like,
That's what Tammy already said, the manager said, yeah, we're free and clear. No,
Never say that. In the hospital, never say it's a quiet.
And then, hold on. Thank you for that. Congregational, something like that.
So the congregational, I had two requests that were kind of, I think that they were kicked down the road for a couple of years. These were two family plots, fairly large family plots that had 20 or more burials and some, and still open spaces. So this one guy, for example, Britain, he wants to have a stone next to his father, but he doesn't want to be buried here. So I guess that was a reason why, you know, the Potters didn't want to deal with it, also because there's a tree very close to it. So I took some very careful measurements. The father's stone was 7 feet away from a fairly decent sized tree. And I asked Britain in Florida to choose a stone. That way I know what size base that we're even talking about. And then I got an estimate from the foundation guy as to what the foundation would cost. So what I did was I marked it out based on that, which was not gonna be like halfway between the tree and the stone, because the stone was proportionate to put it a little bit closer. I marked it out and I asked Britain, I said, I'll tell you what, you send me a check written out to Will Kennedy for a foundation. We're gonna call it an exploratory dig. So if he gets down there 2 feet and hits massive roots and it's gonna hurt this tree or whatever, then at least his expenses are covered by that. And if he can, he pours a foundation and your foundation is paid for and ready to go. He agreed to it, he sent a check. The foundation is poured, it turned out to be, you know, work out really well. So this guy Britain was like doing cartwheels in Florida. He had been chasing after this to try to get it done for 2 years.
He's gonna order the stone and then you'll have the
Yeah,
stone.
the stone.
You say he doesn't want to be buried there though?
No, he just wants to have the stone next to his dad.
That's just that.
There's
So
a
our
record.
notes, our little book will say, just a stone.
So we have
Don't worry,
another,
I'm not missing.
So he built a foundation for the stone.
So-
Memoriam or something.
yeah. And now we have a second one. This one was also same kind of situation. He had been, you know, kicked around for a couple of years. His name is Hoagie Hewen. He's in China. So I've been emailing back and forth with him. They buried his father next to his mother, also in Congo. And they just put a wooden cross for his father. And now they want a matching stone. Now, this stone is a little bit more complicated because it's a tablet type. So the foundation is different as to where it's a straight tablet. You have to dig down, pour the foundation for it, set the stone on top of the foundation, support the stone, and then pour concrete around the base until that settles, and then, you know, you take away those supports. So it's a little bit more complicated. So what I plan on doing is the same thing as I did with Britain, is to I'll ask for a check made out to our digger and consider it an exploratory. If he can get it, your foundation is covered. If not, then he's paid for his labor. And then,
Now, will you collect more when he puts the stone in? We don't really,
well,
because the back is finished.
that portion actually setting the stone is generally worked out with the stone company already, because that's like
So that's not our
included.
problem.
Sometimes they even, like in the case with Shiflett's mother, the cost of the foundation was built into the original estimate from the stone guy. But for the most part, they're totally separate.
Work it out, great.
But the time and effort that you put in is not covered.
Oh, the only thing that I do is every month in my thing, every time that I'm, spend an hour here, 2 hours here, whatever, I mark it in, and I have a little spot in the back of my thing saying how many hours I put in this month, how many hours I put in this month. And if I really needed to break it down and say how many phone hours, how many hours did I spend with a chainsaw in the back after a storm, because all these storms, I've been going and inspecting and just, the only chainsaw work that I've had to do was at Congo and Flanders. And a little bit up at Skiff Mountain.
How many hours a week do you put into this job?
At this job?
Yeah.
Know yet? Have a good
You know?
idea?
Well, I just wrote it in for
Roughly.
for June, it was 32 hours for the whole month.
Okay.
So what's about the road?
It probably
Wheel
is.
tracks.
Well,
Get-
thanks for.
It's not ravel, it's gravel.
So the wheel tracks are really getting down there, so, if you pull in there with a Honda Civic, you could be, hitting your belly.
I can't bring my sports car in.
Yeah, so, like, when I was down there with, we did bury, Bill and Tammy's son, Potter, and there was someone else in, and I could hear their undercarriage dragging.
So just have it done.
Can that middle star be graded out?
Well,
Easier to
a
get.
lot of times it's just gonna, what I used to do is like, I would go to the gravel yard. I would put a chunk of firewood in the center of the back of the dump truck, and then I could drive, and that would just allow the gravel to dump in the wheel tracks.
I don't know about
Really
you, but
good.
I drive by town garage and there's an awful lot of material in there.
Yeah.
We could take
Mine
time.
about midnight.
See
It's
if
just,
he could have somebody drop a load of something.
well, that's the thing,
Town
it's not,
cemetery.
yeah, it's not just a matter of doing it, but yes, okay, I'll bring it up with him.
Bring it up with him.
Yeah.
See what you, let us know how you do.
Yeah.
Can't hurt. Can't hurt. It's a place to
Well,
start.
Yep,
Or we can talk to the selectmen, I guess.
Yeah. The other thing too, I appreciate the fact that you're giving me a certain amount of latitude. One of the latest is we have a burial coming up for Peck. And that's up in Skiff Mountain. Okay, now Peck has got they were part of the original deeded donors of the Skiff Mountain Cemetery. So when you open up the gate where the driveway goes in, on the right-hand side of it, which is 60 feet from the other side, that is all reserved for the Peck, and there's another family involved. So I got contacted last week, and it is one of the daughters. So I said, okay, fine. So I went up there and I marked out. Turns out that there was room for what appears to be a full burial on both sides of the parents. The parents' stone, and then the parents have a footstone. And it looks like there's 2 vacancies right there, and a lot of other family members around them. I haven't probed it yet. But then the Lillis Funeral Home said, look, that this woman, it's just her boyfriend that is trying to, just get her with her father. There's no real amount of money here. They don't want to, You know, if there was a lot of money being asked, it wouldn't be done. So, I made a compromise and said that if you're not willing to put in a stone, could you at least, you know, put her name on the parent's stone? And then we could inter her. And that's about the best I can do, you know, to really help them with their budget. I mean,
What happened to the flush mount? Like the flush mount?
well, I did ask for that too, you know,
How
and I
much
have
does the
got,
flush mount cost? I mean, is that?
I don't really know.
Yeah,
No, I mean,
they just don't have the money.
yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, this is a situation where it's the boyfriend doing it, that's kind of a last favor, and if it was any amount, they just might like totally shy away from it. And, you know, the thing is too, in talking to, you know, Lillis and a few of the other funeral homes, statutorily, they only have to hold the ashes for a certain amount of time, and then they can dump them out, and they've got,
Is it ashes
Uh,
too? Is it just
yes, so it'd make it a lot easier. Not to get ahead of ourselves too, but what one cemetery did that I thought was very interesting is that they bought, the cemetery, their group bought 2 full plots. And then when, then periodically, they open it up and any of those ashes, rather than just dumping in a dumpster, which legally they can do, they actually just put them in a vault that they have in the cemetery. So that way, if 20 years from now, if somebody says, well, you know, this was my grandmother or whatever, well, if you want to pay for the exhumation fee and all of that, then, well, or if you need a place to go and pray, I mean, this is where they are. So I thought that was a really cool thing that cemetery was doing. But.
That's sad that she died and there's nothing,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Well, the other burial that I just did for George Watson, no one showed up. It was me and the funeral home.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's.
And when you consider the family, that was Watson Supply, which was the heart of, Kent's, lumber and hardware for years. Yeah, that was George and Louise's son.
They may be all gone, just nobody left.
Well, I believe it was a brother that is somewhere out in the Midwest that was actually paying for it, and he just couldn't, he just,
Couldn't come.
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's still sad.
But otherwise, things are going, except for the occasional. I appreciate the update.
Yeah, no, I mean, everything seems to be, moving along. We've sold a couple of more plots, mostly in Flanders. And like I said too, that the only ones that have been coming up in the others are existing families, because there really aren't too many openings available. I am looking into some space up in Skiff Mountain, though. There is the foundation that there was some sort. If you go up there, you can see where the grass is dead, right at the end of where you can pull in. And there was some sort of a vault kind of area structure, 10 by 10 or something or other at one point. It'll probably show up, it's, on a map. But we might be able to utilize the area around that for future burials.
Oh, no more when you get the magnetic.
So
Yeah,
Well,
that too.
yeah.
so interesting. So much history.
It's better than going into a dumpster, my goodness,
Right,
Yeah.
right.
heartbreaking.
So
It really is.
Well, how many cremains do you end up staying at a funeral home? Is that a big problem too?
Closet's full.
Classes full?
Yeah.
It is a big problem.
It's hard to believe, and that's why too, that I really didn't hesitate to try to, cut this person a deal, because that it was that close, and it is the Peck family.
should we discuss it? Should we do a motion to allow the cremation burial?
It's up to the family to do the stone, right?
So is
We're
there,
definitely authorizing the cremation. Is that the motion to authorize the cremation and burial?
The cremation burial.
Well, the big point to me has for them is like, you either get a stone or you get the name put, on an existing stone there, so that it's not only just in a record on a piece of paper somewhere or
Yeah.
virtually, then it should be there physically.
But
And
then it's still an unmarked grave. If it's, the name is on somebody's grave and this one doesn't have a grave or this one, then there's still.
no, it'll be in the same plot. It won't be off to the side or anything.
It'll be
she'll-
in, oh, okay.
You can put a cremation on top of a full burial.
Getting them to agree to add the name. So.
Well, they already said that that they would. So, right now, and they actually sent, a check for the opening. So it's like, okay, it seems like it's, it's underway.
Okay.
The other thing that I've been doing is, with the cremations, I've been putting a large, steel washer a couple inches below the ground, above everyone. So, either a metal detector or this new magnetic detector would be able to pinpoint it, if it was necessary. And the other thing I like doing too is like with Deborah Shiflett, with her mom, I made her stand exactly where she wanted her mom buried. She held up a sign that said plot 22 and I took her picture. So it's like, that's what I did the same thing when we buried Bill and Tammy's, son. Tammy was saying, well, I'm gonna be in the middle and Bill's gonna be here. I said, well, all right, could you stand there, please? I took their picture. Hysterical.
Yeah, I think that would have been helpful for your old row 9.
I think row 9 needed a lot more help. They ran amok. I think that was a sensitive solution. Nicely done. So do we have to do something about that? Can we just, no?
And I don't think, and again, too, there probably won't be anyone there for the burial.
You'll have a Sexton report that will say that she was added or that was going.
Yeah, so I mean, pretty much, when the folder is done, I write done down in the lower right-hand corner and it goes into the other archive. And then at some point, I'm figuring, hopefully when haying season over and sometime during the winter, I'd really like to just get into the vault here. And has anyone started anything with the cabinet? I'm really.
Before the meeting, because we knew Darkham would probably be closed by the end, so it's all just in bags in the.
Yeah.
The cabinet looks like 2 empty cabinets are there.
Well, it's a spinner.
Yeah, we were in there for the
Yeah.
meeting that didn't happen.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to getting in there and I think that we had talked about taking out a couple of shelves so that the maps could stand up. But yeah, I think that we can make that, we'll be able to make that
So
work.
so practically, what do we have to do in there to start? Because it would make sense to have a meeting in there and go over what needs to be done and then set up a schedule.
Yeah.
And I think maybe if we volunteer 2 by 2 to go in for even an hour, 'cause that's intensive
I
work.
think that's perfect.
Just an hour and go in and just start working on it, but I don't have any idea in my head what we're supposed to be doing.
The only thing that really should be done is just to start by separating the cemeteries and just having, one shelf for St. Andrews and one shelf for, and just to get them out of the bags.
Congregational and Good Hill are a lot of books, and then the newer, less so, and Skiff probably
Right.
just doesn't have as many,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Chronological.
And getting the maps in there.
Yeah, it's a box of maps.
Yeah, they're all standing up and it's kind of crazy. I did get Dar to make me a copy of the Skiff Mountain map. Because I didn't have a good one for up there. Mostly when I started this thing, I went to Tammy and Bill's because I needed to start laying out everything in my head. I took pictures of the maps there and then I was able to zone in. But like now even, like I needed to find another one in St. Andrews, and the way that those maps are, just like, it's just like this little. It is so hard to read and so hard to find, and I have to have a, you know, really good image. And then, God, now I've got to add another one in there. It just, that's why I'm really looking forward to working with you on, you know, how that whole thing is gonna
And
work.
if you want some help, I know when I was going through the congregational, even in the book, a lot of it was hard to read. So I used software to translate the cursive straight to plain text. So I can do that with images, maps too, if we want to go through historical documents.
So
Yeah.
when they first started archiving the paper maps in the town hall before they went to Mylar, they had those, if you do any old research, they're in envelopes and they hang in the same slots, but those are in these envelopes are archival plastic. I wonder if it makes sense for us to consider whether we should have the map, so then they're flat. They're not rolled either. And you can open them up, you can get in and mark them. Maybe we'll see how they look and how fragile they are.
You know, anything that could, I mean,
They
for.
can make copies at the land use office for.
It's anything to make it easier, because right now, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll spread the map out, I'll find it, then I'll take my glasses and I'll bracket it with that and take a picture of it, and then go down and, you know, and walk the grounds and be sure that it's there, and if it's an area that I need to probe, then.
You have copies, hard copies of all the old maps? Because that would be a good thing to start with.
Maybe that would be the way to start, so he just has copies, he can
Just
pull
have
them up and
copies
have to
and
do whatever he
whatever
wants.
So is the land trust,
Land use.
land use, so they have a big Xerox?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
so
just,
that
and then
would be-
archive all the old ones, so they're preserved, and then
Yeah.
it happens, you just.
Archive those, don't, yeah.
Right, and just.
Well, I'm hoping that, you know, with this chronicle, that we'll be able to, like what I do is in these family plots, I draw a sketch over in the margin that I have for which cemetery it's in, where the stone is and where these placements are. You know, because there's nothing in the old maps that do that.
And I saw an example of that in one of the black books as well. They had a thing with who was wearing like, you know,
Yeah.
3 or 4. But I just want to interject, this is why it might be, and we got a good, we got a chronicle, let's see how this goes with these 2 cemeteries. But we did negotiate, Jonathan negotiated a really good terms that they would do the other cemeteries, like the video for like the same or similar price that they did the 2 big cemeteries. But like only $100, well, then it's like a 3, whatever, it's gonna cost, but not as much as if they were all active cemeteries.
Oh,
So we have a good basis to grow on with this.
Yeah, that might be the way to go too.
Correct me, Jean, or intercept if I'm saying anything off.
Right.
Okay.
That's all right.
Yeah, all right, great.
So yeah, I think a meeting there and maybe we'll start there next time because she posts up for. Yeah. And then get a rough plan. If anybody has time to meet before our next meeting, I think that was, I didn't copy page 2 of the agenda, but it's set date for next meeting and future agenda items. I think that would be on 1 page. Yeah, so do you want to try on the first Wednesday again? I don't know if people have, there's my picture of Yosemite Cemetery. And the gravestones are redwood.
Oh,
Yeah, and they look perfect, and I think all they do is go through it occasionally and
amazing.
you know, put
Put a
some
plaque
finish
on or
on,
something?
yeah.
Really?
So we're talking.
How old? I mean,
1880s.
Wow. wow, that's a real hardwood they used.
Kind of weird.
So we're talking Wednesday, August 7th?
Yeah.
Okay. And
We'll
what
try that.
you want a different time?
We could try 3. I'll have to confirm with Darlene at the town hall that her office will be open.
So I know they close at 4, so do we
That would
want
give
to?
us an hour. No,
Want to do 2:30? Can anybody do 2:30 just to be safe?
I can.
Yeah.
I think that's fine.
Okay.
So from 2:30. Okay, 7.
August 7th?
Yeah.
Perfect. And it's time.
And I'll call Darlene to make sure that we can get it.
And if we can't, we'll just change it to 3, but.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna just bring up something quick. Do we still need to approve of the two separate minutes?
Oh, we do,
from
I
the-
didn't put that in, yeah.
We can do that, maybe that. Any changes to those 2 minutes?
Oh,
I didn't have any.
just so you know, too, this is the Sexton's report form that I submit in with each individual one with the certificate for me.
This is so interesting. Yeah, I mean, it is. And it is so important. Every time we sit here and talk about it, and we're talking about not people's lives, but their legacy, right? It's just such an important piece of things. You don't think about that every day, you know?
The software is amazing.
Yeah.
First thought about coming on this committee, that's the first thing I asked myself. Is there a software? Why? I'm curious.
I would really encourage everybody to look up, so if you go into Chronicle, right, and try to look up the maps, go to the public, whatever.
And we should be switching over to public soon.
So, but we're not there yet, just to let you know, if you get an example, look up that Hartford Cemetery.
What's the website?
Chronicle.rip.
R.I.P. So it's an Australian company.
Yeah,
So, they got a.
With a sense of humor.
Love it. And down and under sense of humor.
I love it.
Oh, we're raising.
Oh, man, we are so bad.
Okay, so is everybody, I need a motion to approve the special meeting minutes of May 1st and April. Is it April also?
Here, I got the April date.
Yeah.
Here. April 4th.
April
was a
4th and
Thursday.
May 1st. Anybody want to make that motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Guess I'm gonna have to go
If
get
you do
me-
have agenda items that occur to you, just shoot me an email and then I'll work with them, getting an agenda. We usually try to shoot for having it posted a week early.
Right, it's kind of a requirement with the.
Kind of a requirement. We aim to comply with the law as much as possible. Thanks, everybody. Again, I apologize for the nonsense last.
And we're
Oh,
adjourned.
We had a good time. We stood in the vault and we had a good time.
It was actually, we were going into Yosemite. And I'm like,
I get much more fun.
I gotta call, and then I called and nobody was there.
Okay, so I'm adjourning at 4:40 p.m. So okay.
I had made the time adjustment, so I knew the 3 hours.
Watch fireworks in the lake.
I should have not ourselves and go.
Think they help
Go and
out.
learn the farm.
Turn us off.
I'm ready to come, ready to go. Did people park on the road?
What's that?
Turn us off.
Oh, I gotta go.
Yeah, there's a lot of cars there.
Jonathan, can we turn off the Zoom meeting
What did
from
you
there?
just say? Where's fire?
The lake is gonna have there.